Hi everyone, in this video I want to give you the basics to how to solve equations. So in this video we'll take a look at a few examples, and in each example I will be adding on a new element. So let's start off with the most basic one, the first example, which is 2x plus 5 is equal to 17 minus 4x. Okay, so firstly we have to know what the goal of solving equations is. So the goal is that we want to get what x is equal to. So this is our final goal that we are working towards. So this question is one of the more basic forms. So what you want to do here is that you want to try to simplify as much as possible. So what I mean is that, for example, over here you see that there's a minus 4x. Now we don't want the minus 4x on the right hand side. We want all the x's on the left hand side, and we want all the numbers on the other side. So what we can do is that we could start off by adding 4x to both sides. Soon you get the hang of it, but for now let me show you why this works. On the right hand side, notice that over here, since we are subtracting 4x and adding 4x, these two cancel each other out. So that's gone. On the left hand side, we have over here 2x plus 4x. And 2x plus 4x is simply equal to 6x. The rest of it stays the same for now. So we have 6x plus 5 is equal to 17. And we no longer have the minus 4x. So that's good. We're making progress already. So over here, notice that the next thing we want to get rid of is this plus 5. This plus 5 is in the way. So what we can do to get rid of the plus 5 is subtract 5 on both sides. Once again, by subtracting 5 on both sides, since on the left hand side here we're adding 5 and subtracting 5, well, these two just cancel each other out. So on the left hand side we are only left with 6x. And on the right hand side we have 17 minus 5, which is equal to 12. So far so good. We have one last step to go. So 6x on the left hand side. Remember, 6x is simply 6 times x. So to get rid of the 6, we can divide both sides by 6. So on the left hand side, so you're basically taking x and then multiplying it by 6 and then dividing it by 6. So you see how these 6 over here cancel each other out. You're left with x on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you have 12 divided by 6, and that is equal to 2. So for the first question, this is the answer that you get. So this is the most basic form. Now let's take a look at what happens if there is a bracket in the question. So for our next question, we have 3 times 3x minus 2 is equal to 5x plus 10. So notice here that we have this nasty looking bracket over here, but brackets aren't as bad as you think. Whenever you see a bracket in a question, it is generally best to just expand this bracket first. So we can expand this by multiplying the term in front by the two terms inside. So what you get on the left hand side is 3 times 3x, which is 9x, minus 3 times 2, which is 6. So you have 9x minus 6 is equal to the same right hand side, 5x plus 10. Now notice that over here we have reached our basic form, and we know how to deal with the basic form. So what we can do first is we can subtract 5x on both sides. So by subtracting 5x on both sides, for the same logic, since we're adding 5, subtracting 5, these two cancel each other out. So you are left here with 9x minus 5x, which is simply 4x, minus 6 is equal to positive 10. Now to get rid of this minus 6 over here, since it's a minus 6, we just need to add 6 on both sides. And by adding 6 on both sides, since on the left hand side you're subtracting 6, adding 6, so these two cancel each other out again. Once again, you are left with 4x is equal to 10 plus 6, which is equal to 16. Once again, for our last step, since 4x is just 4 times x, you can divide both sides by 4. So you're multiplying by 4, dividing by 4, so these two cancel each other out. So finally, you're left with x is equal to 16 divided by 4, and that is equal to 4. So that is the answer to the second question. Now let's move on to what happens if there's a fraction in the question. So for this example, we have x plus 2 divided by 4 is equal to 4x minus 7. So if this is your first time seeing a fraction, it may be intimidating, but don't worry. What you have to do is, whenever you see a fraction, multiply both sides by that. So that gets rid of the fraction. So what we can do is multiply by 4, and we can multiply this side by 4 as well. Now what that does is that since on the left hand side you're taking x plus 2, dividing it by 4 and multiplying it by 4. So it's just like before, except now you're multiplying to get rid of the division. Previously we were dividing to get rid of the multiplication, like over here. So it's the same thing, just the other way around. So anyway, continuing from there, after cancelling out the 4, you're left with x plus 2 on the left hand side. And on the right hand side, you have 4 times 4x minus 7. So now we have reached the form where we have a bracket in the question. And whenever you have brackets in the question, remember that it is generally best to just expand the bracket. So on the left hand side, there's nothing to do. We're still left with x plus 2. On the right hand side, we take 4 times 4x, that gives us 16x, minus 4 times 7, which is 28. Alright, and once again, we have reached our basic form. So now, in this case, since we have the 16x on the right hand side, I don't want to be subtracting 16x from both sides because we'll get negative numbers, and that's not nice. Instead, I want to subtract the x from both sides. And subtracting x by both sides, that cancels out this x over here. Since you're adding x, subtracting x, so that cancels out. You are left with 2 is equal to 16x minus x, that is 15x, minus 28. And similarly, you just add 28 on both sides. And by adding 28 on both sides, you cancel out this negative 28 here. So you're subtracting 28 and then you're adding 28, so it cancels. On the left hand side, you have 2 plus 28, which is equal to 30. On the right hand side, you have 15x. Once again, it's the last step. All we got to do is divide both sides by 15. And by dividing by 15, you get rid of the 15 over there. Since you're multiplying 15, dividing by 15, so it cancels out. On the left hand side, you have 30 divided by 15, which is 2. And on the right hand side, you're left with x. So if you wanted to rewrite this as x equals 2, go ahead, but you get the point, it's the same thing. So I want to give you one last example, which may be kind of rare if you're taking IGCSE Mathematics, but it's still good to know. Alright, so it's when you have a square in this. And these types of questions are usually easier because let's say there were another x here, that would be a quadratic, and those are not nice. But these questions are easy to deal with. So all you got to do is just kind of ignore the square for now, and you want to do the same things that you would do. So for example, in this case, I would subtract 8 from both sides first. And we all know what that does. It cancels out the plus 8 over here, since we're adding 8 and subtracting 8. So, oops. I don't know why that keeps happening. It shouldn't be happening. Anyway, you're left with 2x squared. And that's equal to 80 minus 8, which is 72. Alright. So now, like I said, for now, just ignore this x squared. You can do the same thing as before and divide both sides by 2. And once again, dividing both sides by 2 cancels out the 2 in front. So on the left hand side, you're left with x squared. And on the right hand side, you have 72 divided by 2. You can do the math, that is equal to 36. So the only step extra that you have to do whenever there's a square is that you just got to square root both sides. And square rooting both sides, that cancels out the square on the left hand side. And whenever you're doing square roots, don't forget to put a plus minus sign. So finally what we get x is equal to plus or minus square root of 36. The square root of 36 is equal to 6. And if you wanted to verify that, 6 squared is equal to 6 times 6, which is equal to 36. So hence, the square root of 36 is equal to 6. So our final answer for this question is simply x is equal to positive or negative 6. So that's it for this video. Hopefully these examples help you out. Hopefully they help you understand how to solve equations, at least the basic ones. And that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Have a great day.